We have with us today, she's over there, Dr. Towanna Burrous of Coach Diversity Institute, and we have Chris Gelnaw, because I always have to concentrate to make sure that I'm saying her name properly, who is one of our esteemed Her Corner facilitators, who's currently leading the marketing module for our current peer group and in one-on-one coaching as well. We want to pick up in our conversation, our diversity series and conversation around diversity. We want to pick up and talk about some trends, some things that we see happening, in the space, and who better than Dr. Burrous to talk about that, as well as I think Chris and I have both had experiences through coaching with people and seeing what is out there in the marketplace. Boom, drop the topic of expectations of our younger generation, some of which we have in the room. I won't say any names. But that we had an article, and I was going to pull it up so people can reference it, and we have sent it out, but that the expectation around starting salaries for people coming out of college. Anybody want to guess what that is? It is 45. Haha. Any other numbers you want to try?
32. 60 something?
Well, according to a LinkedIn news story, college students want the big bucks. A recent survey of those pursuing bachelor's degrees, mind you, expect to earn $103,000 in their first job. That's more than twice the most recent estimate of the National Association of College Employees. Those of you that said 50 have realistic expectations, but that is the norm and the number. However, some people, what happened? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
That's
a
gap.
huge jump. And then
Right?
my question is within the article, does it say where geographically that matters?
It doesn't say specifically.
Big
It
cities,
does.
East Coast,
Yeah.
Big C, West Coast. I mean, that plays a lot of into it too. I could say cost of living obviously increased, and there's a very interesting dynamic just on that. Economics is driving that. But let's put that aside. Let's just say those individuals that were peppered
You're being
in.
nice.
Yeah. Those individuals that were peppered in and said, yes, I want a six-figure salary after completing my undergraduate bachelor's degree, and that's my new expectation. Doesn't matter where I live in the country, I believe that's my value, that's my worth. Knowing that we are in a labor shortage, and there is a very interesting, I don't know when that survey was done, but let's just say it's during COVID years.
It was.
Last 2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then people are reconsidering what does work life look like for them now. People are very much interested in not living to work.
Yes.
And because of that, they want their jobs to really care for their decisions to travel the world, to have recreation, to increase their interest in hobbies and different levels of personal fulfillment. In order to do that, and again, social media plays a huge part in what people want aspirationally and how they're going to achieve that. So for me to come out and say I want a six-figure salary because I want to have investments, I want to have a great lifestyle, and I want to have fun and recreation. In order to do that, I have to have more money. So I'm leading with my life in mind. I'm not leading with saying I'm wondering what the competition is and wonder what my other peers are saying, what they need. No, I'm not considering anyone else. I'm saying I'm worth it. I have a lifestyle, and I'm going to ask for what I want. Somebody is going to pay it.
Yeah, so about that. That's almost like the real estate market,
Right,
where
exactly. It's a bubble.
you sell your house for way below what it is, necessarily worth. You mess up the value for everyone else. But the reverse of that is true, that just because you can demand a higher price and you get that, then you sort of mess up with everybody else. And for buyers, the conversation between buyers and sellers market. The problem that I have with those expectations, I'm all for paying people what they're worth, right? But how can you justify, from as an employer, you don't bring experience to the table that helps you to solve problems in a way that demands that level of salary, right?
Well, true, but then what if, and again today let's talk about what qualifies someone to be an incredible leader or an incredible key contributor. How do you qualify that? So there has to be some level of testing and assessment that would say, okay, this is what I'm expecting from my employees that want that much money. Tell me what you bring to the table that matches that skill set, that matches that experience level, right? And so that's how you have that conversation. Now, I would submit that most organizations where you have this very interesting desire for people to make more salaries, most organizations are not even going to do that. Most of them are not. Now, big tech and some of these other companies,
Sure.
they are able to do that. And they have tests in place to say, okay, then we're going to give you some very difficult program challenges, solve this problem that justifies salary, because the more complex the technology, the more money you make. And if you're solving it, just like in math class when I'm a mathematician, that is how you tested the water. Are you able to solve this problem? If so, then you go into being a part of this team for research.
So tech is leading the way.
Yes.
For sure, and we know that just civilization in general, tech
Yes.
has impacted us, and
Yes.
we're looking at. So we have to say, how do we mirror some of those practices in quote unquote non-technical businesses to make sure that that happens? Chris, if you had a comment on that, I'd love to hear. But I just caution, you gave a good tip on how you can explain to a potential candidate where their value is in relationship to what the business can do. Sometimes a small businesses, one of the other things that we have done is say bonus structure, right? Like having a very competitive bonus structure, compensation. It doesn't always have to be about salary in terms of how you are able to match the needs of,
being
who's
creative.
coming out. Absolutely being creative, to do that. So that is a thing for me in thinking about it, but definitely not looking at it as a battle, right, between
us
you
versus
as
them.
us versus them, because then no one wins, right? And there is value in obviously new, fresh talent, and we don't want them to think that we don't value that piece of it, but at the same time, you do got to earn some stripes, ladies. Like you got to be able to bring something to the table.
Yeah, and, I mean, when you're attracting clients, a lot of times people are hesitant to say what the salary range is on the particular position. I think you need to be a bit more transparent to weed out those people who are looking for something outside of that salary band that you're willing to hire for. And so that level of transparency is important too right away. Because people are on Google. They're Googling salaries within this particular field, and they're noticing many of them aren't even comparing East Coast to West Coast, big city versus, someplace in the South, right, where cost of living is cheaper. But I can tell you that there are some tech companies, and again, I keep leaning on them because they're driving all of this, who are paying salaries based on U.S. market value in countries all over the world where they're making the same amount of money. Can you imagine living in, Bangladesh, making six-figure salaries in the United States and Bangladesh?
Yeah.
You're extremely wealthy. Extremely wealthy. So that is how talent is, again, when you talk about pay equity and measuring success and also, inviting people with great talent, everybody's being paid the same globally, especially U.S. companies are saying, this is the pay. We don't drop the pay just because you live there.
Yes, it's interesting that the global impact, when you speak to that, because people have choices, right? And because some of the more savvy people, in fact, might be U.S. citizens that take that salary to work someplace
and they
else
go
there, and they expat, absolutely. So they know that has been happening a long time, particularly in the military community, but it hadn't been so much in other areas. And thanks to internet, social media, etc., we're expanding that, which is is a good thing. But here at home, for those that are here, because we have members in other countries as well, the advantage, and I don't definitely not a curse, but just the complexities,
Yeah.
shall we say, of,
Mhm.
of global marketplace and what that looks like for the average employer in their local areas. So
Yeah, so I think the key takeaway is what you said earlier, being creative with the compensation, not necessarily having it about the dollar currency, but looking at, the opportunity, one, remote work, working less hours. In a work week, meaning, I only need you Tuesday through Friday, you have Mondays off, things like that creatively, as well as compensation structures that are, include a bonus at the end of the year or measurable bonuses.
yes, because what I was going to say about that is then the onus, we have to be not necessarily the founder, but a founder making sure that someone on the team, preferably HR department, if they can
Yes.
do it, holds the new staff accountable,
Yes.
right? Because in as much as, okay, we've worked out this structure, you've got to perform now.
That's right. And how do you measure success for you as the owner, making sure that there are those stops in the
getting that out of your head
Absolutely.
and onto paper, as we said before, so that no one leaves disappointed, or at least no one leaves uninformed.
That's right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Chris, did you have anything you questioned or wanted to add to that? Because I know Chris is in Connecticut, so one of the bubbles of where a lot of things are happening. And Chris has two recent graduates, twins that are about to are they graduated? Yes, or
and they are nowhere near making $103,000.
She's like, no, that's not happening.
But because the generation also holds on to the gig piece as well. So it's you can do this as you put out the flex hours, but then before and after and beside, you can also do some gig work that will get you those great vacations, that will get you that designer handbag, or will help you pay your New York City rent.
Yeah, the facts, true things, and priorities, right? The cornucopia of priorities that we have generationally, they're different, and then also they're different if you're an employee versus a founder or entrepreneur, period. So that's pretty interesting.
The other thing I'm finding, as far as trends when it comes to employee-led things that are challenging leadership is, again, being in a time where we have less labor sources to do, so we're doing more with less people. We're starting to hear a more louder voice regarding being overstressed and overworked, overworked.
Yeah.
So mental health is a huge issue right now across industries, and where the employees are having during COVID years found themselves working longer hours. So it was a catch-22. So you're virtual, you have the freedom and flexibility working virtually, but no one told you had to work after 5 o'clock. No one told you had to do longer hours and do extra work. However, there's a level of commitment and a level of the need to see things through, that a number of employees double down to support the companies, and they applied themselves and overextended themselves at the same time, without realizing that just because you're at home, your body still will be taxed by the stress and the impact of having that demand or that new accelerated pace to get things done. So we're now hearing the challenge of mental health, the challenge of being stressed, and leaders now having to reconsider what work weeks look like because of that overwhelmed feeling. So it may be permanent and it may be temporary, but a number of companies have now reduced to a 4-day work week. Many of them have instituted all kinds of policies so that people can have more personal time off, because they saw an increased amount of people putting in paid time off and etc., whether sick leave or whatever, vacation time. Some people not using vacation time, but an increase in sick leave. And so it had nothing to do with COVID, right? But this just generally not feeling well and needing to do some self-care. So because of the trend, many of the employees are looking at how can they increase a more flexible workspace so that they can get that balance, reduce the stress. But leaders are also needing to lead with empathy. Where some people who have been impacted by COVID in the last 2 years, many of them have suffered silently by not sharing how COVID has changed their lives.
Yeah.
Some people lost every family member, and some people have lost, friends that were significant that contributed to their, recreation and fun, and they don't have that outlet anymore.
Okay.
So there's all types of reasons why people have now started to pay attention to leaders leading with more empathy, which does not mean being soft or touchy-feely.
Understood.
It just means asking better questions of your employees and finding out what their needs are and finding out what you can do as a founder to support those unique things or unique needs that you may have not considered before. So it's really about asking better questions of the employees as a general body, and then whittle down to those individual unique needs as well.
I think, well, again, while you're the expert in bringing a different perspective on how we take a look at these things, but what comes up for me is that there's a little bit of guilt, right? That some people feel who didn't catch COVID, for example, and so they want to make sure, like, companies, people are still vested in the company that they work for, and want a passion and want to make sure they have a job because they've have a little bit of panic or stress that if this goes away or the company goes away, what's going to happen, right? And then I didn't catch COVID, so the least I could do is do my work and that sort of thing.
Right.
And I think also a little bit of as a tactical everyday matter, one of the things that we can do as founders is build in time in between meetings, right? Because what has happened is, I could just, let me hang up and then go to the next meeting.
Yeah.
You give yourself no time to decompress, to have even jot down, what did I just talk about? And I know that even me, at the end of the day, I'm like, wait, I did a lot today, and I need to be able to process that.
Yep.
To get it out, and I have no time to do so.
Yeah.
And so just because I didn't have to walk from one meeting to another or hop on a plane or get to wherever, I still need some time. And that's one little small thing that we can do as leaders to sort of address that with people on our teams. But I think, to your point, the empathy portion of everyone's experience, this is a pandemic, but it impacted everyone.
Yeah.
But completely differently.
In different ways.
And making that investment, like we used to say, it's important to make an investment in technology because that's going to move your business forward.
Right.
It is important to make an investment in the mental health and just wellness overall of your team.
Let me give you an
because of
example.
the return on investment.
I don't know. You want to add anything, Chris?
Yeah, Chris, I'm sorry, on that particular.
Question for you is, in terms of treating the whole person, the whole employee as a person, have you seen trends and recommendations on, like, whether it's yoga classes, whether it's meditation classes, other types of mental health benefits?
That's exactly what I was about to say. You're a mind reader, Chris, and that's exactly what happened. So I have several clients, and this was really cool to see. I would be in an environment just like this with Her Corner, and before I would get up to speak, there was someone conducting meditation, breathing exercises. There was some entertainment. So it was very interesting, very unique, but super cool to see that level of break, where this is not about work. We're just going to take a pause and do something very different to just ground ourselves. And so, first of all, it was a little weird because it's like, aren't we at work? But then it dawned on me, like, wait, we are in virtual work. If we do need people to take a break because of meeting after meeting after meeting, and you realize convenience of sitting and just hitting a button, I'm present, without having considered the drain on the body physically. So that is exactly what I've seen. I thought it was freaking phenomenal. And they do that quarterly. So they'll have these big town halls where everybody convenes, and they create this opportunity to do a break, a breathe break or meditation break or whatever, and then they go into the agenda. And then they will conclude with some type of exercise as well, just so that people can ground themselves and prepare themselves for whatever's next. Now, I can tell you, I become a victim of the meeting after meeting without knowing, where my assistant and I had a real come to Jesus conversation regarding how did this happen, right?
Right.
I've never operated this way before. What she revealed to me was that in my email communications with her, my level of excitement to work with certain clients and my passion to change and be so on the front line of help, because this is what
Yeah,
we do.
absolutely.
She assumed and thought you might want to talk with them sooner than later because they really have a need, and that's the business I'm in. And she's so right. I do have a serious passion and need to jump in and, you know, deliver and be a part of it, and that's where I do my best work. But I need, as a leader, I need a break too.
No, absolutely, which is why, you know, we've been working on different diversity series and what we were going to do, but I was like, we have to eat lunch. So come during this lunch period time so we know we at least get that in and fit it in, because you're going and going. And I literally, as part of one of my team members' responsibility in all, you know, full disclosure, is, do you have water? Do you eat? Like, it's like, got a reminder on my phone, because I'll just be going and going, and I'm like, it's 4:00. Like, what happened? I didn't do that at all. And absolutely having a passion to help people, and you're just like, wait, they have this, you know, big event going on, or they have a proposal, and I want to make sure
and
that
I want to be helpful.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
When you're a founder, this is like birthing a child. You're so excited. It's precious to you. You want to be all things to all people. You want to be all things to the baby, right? And as you are building this beautiful company, you begin to fall so far into it that we lose ourselves in that excitement. But you think you're serving yourself because you're so excited,
right.
But you don't realize how much it is draining you as well. So I just had an interview this morning for a podcast, and that was the question about, how do you, Towanna, do this? And I say, well, I have a spa day at the top of every month. The first week of every month, I check myself into a spa, and that's it. I'm there for the whole day. Every day at 12 o'clock, no matter what, nobody bothers me at lunchtime. 1 o'clock, I'm back on at 1 hour. And then at 5 o'clock, I have a hard stop at 5. I do nothing after 5 o'clock. And I will scold anyone on my team who sends an email at 5:01.
Right.
And I'm like, violation, like penalty, etc. Right? Because we have to train people on how we want to be treated. And so I then respectfully tell them, log off. If you are working, don't let me know it. You might be scheduling that meeting to fall into my inbox at 8 o'clock the next morning.
Absolutely.
Why? Because as founders, this, again, our passion to get things done. We will jump in and work all hours of the night because we're so excited. We're so happy about progress. We are so happy about our revenue and P&L statements that it can completely consume you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, yes, that's one of the things we try to extend to her corner members, and I tell people all the time in the coaching, like, it's like the airplane test. If you don't take care of yourself first, then you're no good to everyone else. So you have to have something that you do. And I just had a session this morning with someone, and she was saying she just got her first big, check from a job. And I said, okay, so what are you going to do?
How are you celebrating?
How are you gonna? And she was like, well, I'm going to get something for my son. I'm going to pay this. And I'm like, oh, stop, right? We have to do something for you because you're the reason all of this happened.
Absolutely. How are you treating yourself?
I will
tell on Naomi, just to let you know. I have noticed for the last 2 years how she has evolved into more self-care. And I observed that just by how we engage online. I can hear it in her email communications and in her language. So I know for sure you are practicing what you preach. I know you are.
Right?
And I'm so proud. But when I first met you, that was not the case.
She's like, I'm totally telling on me. Yes.
Not the
yes.
case.
But, that's a testament of trying to keep people in your space, which is important, right? Keeping people in your space that follow the same pattern and trend, because if they're crazy and off the hook, then that doesn't work out. And even as we choose facilitators that work through her corner, it has to be a match of understanding, like, hey, to what you said earlier about diversity and your culture. Yes. It might not all be perfect. I might be a little late with getting something to you, but that's probably because I was doing something to balance the rest of this out. Right. And as long as they're flexible and know what our values are, right? So Chris and Tawanda and all the Miss Jackie and Susan, all of our facilitators, understand that, at the end of the day, we are here to provide services for women and grow their businesses. So because they know pretty much we'll work it out, we'll do what we need to do within these parameters, I'm not really worried, and they're not, like, we'll figure it out. We'll make it happen.
Right.
And but that has been because I've been clear about who's important.
Right. I would also say, let's talk through the idea of having to compete in this marketplace. So as founders, we're constantly looking at our competitors, or our competitors are up all night. So if you really remember when you were an employee before you became a founder, when you were as an employee, you were competing with your peers for promotion. So that meant sometimes staying extra hours, working on, high profile projects that would give you that visibility. And so there was a demand because you're in competition. That didn't go away. It just now exists in a different format. So it's now in the founder space. So when you think about, are my competitors up? What are you know what I mean? So it's in your subconscious that is driving the need to compete and not wanting to feel the guilt for not pushing the envelope past, so because you have these revenue goals and etc. When you have that going on and dynamically, as founders, we must consider that if you realize that there is an abundance of opportunity for you, there's really no competition, because it's literally a lot of work to be distributed.
It's a lot of work,
lot of
right?
business out there for everyone.
You just have to figure out what it is.
Right. If you take on the mindset that you teach inside of Her Corner, that everybody that is my client, they're mine and mine alone. They'll come to me, they'll find me, or my marketing will find them, and we'll have a perfect relationship. If I begin to think about what are they doing, then I begin to, again, release the brain power that I would focus on me being me, and present opportunities for me to be worried about other things, and then the guilt starts to run, and then the attention away from yourself and all the other stress that comes with the competition. So, and I know that you are a huge, advocate for abundance and having the mindset of abundance and making sure that people know there's plenty to go around.
Yeah, moving from scarcity to abundance. Everybody is not your client. It's just not going to work out. Like, that's okay. Next.
Exactly.
Like, next, because if you worry, to your point, about that one person who didn't, yes, you want to pay attention. Did you make a mistake in your communication? Where did you not deliver what you wanted out of your services? Evaluate that, learn from it, and then move on. But definitely not operating from a place of fear. Operating from a place of abundance.
Right.
Chris, you had something?
Well, I was going to say, it's that whole fear of missing out, and FOMO will kill you, because if you've got your business and you have your core, competencies, and you've got your mission statement, that should be strong enough, and your customers, your repeat customers and your new customers are validating that. So the fear of missing out is going to kill you.
All right. Well, I thank you so much. One of the things we try to do is give little tidbits and pockets for our founders, because who has hours to sit around and listen? We could talk all day, but we are going to do what we said, which is have lunch, because that's pretty important. You'll hear more from Towanna. You'll hear more from Chris over the coming weeks. We'll have more conversations. We want people to take advantage. We have a partnership with Coach Diversity, so whether it is you as a founder or your leadership team, that we need to, just dig in a bit and see how we can help and make the organization move forward. We want to do that, and so that's available. You'll be able to, reach out to Her Corner to do so, and we'll just continue, this conversation. Rome wasn't built in a day, and getting people to understand the value of diversity wasn't either. But I kind of made it my charge, and now I got to do it. Whether it's industry by industry, little by little, we'll get it in. But I appreciate your time. I thank you for coming, Chris. I know where you are. Be in touch. We're working out the details as we speak, actually, on our wonderful Her Corner week. So the last 2 days are in question, so we're battling those for Thursday and Friday, and what platform we have. But that we'll do offline. All right. Thank you. I'll send you some info soon.
Thank
Bye.
you.